Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to Red Hot Talk. Once again, this is the episode 79. We're almost hitting the 80 mark.
Is it really 79? Oh
I
my
know,
gosh.
79,
Right.
79. And we have some breaks in between as well, so we could have been in the hundreds by now. But yeah,
Nobody needs that.
no, but it's good to be back. And also today we're going to have some chats. Maybe a nerdy chat, I would say, wouldn't it be, Rod? A little bit about what if? That's a big question, right? What if we reset? If we come into the photography world or digital photography world from fresh, start again. What would you buy, right? What would you get? What system would you get? What sort of lenses? What sort of camera? What type of camera would you get? Because now we are spoiled with choices. We literally have, I don't know what, in the matter of just about 100 different models, different brand, different formats. There are a lot to choose from, right?
So I've worked up a backstory for this, Jimmy. All your MFT gear, this is to everyone in the chat, has been lost at sea. And I'm the insurance assessor, and I'm here to tell you, you can have £3,000 or $3,000 to replace it. So I know it might not be as much as what you've lost, but that's my story. All your gear's been lost. Here's a check for $3,000. What are you gonna do?
Okay, right. So just to put a little spin on it too, right? And so with £3,000, I don't know what's the equivalent in dollars. $5,000, $4,500.
No.
Roughly?
Well, I don't know. I think UK to US dollars broadly is about 1-to-1 because a lot of stuff is. So so let's call it 1-to-1.
Let's do it 1-to-1.
Let's say £3,000, whatever it is. Yeah.
Right, £3,000, €3,000, $3,000.
Yeah. It's a ballpark.
It's a ballpark figure, right? So £3,000 budget. What would you get in 2025? New or used? Right. Okay. Let's broaden up a little bit because I know. For new gear, it can be a little bit of a challenge this day. We think about $3,000. not like the old days when I first started photography. $3,000 would go quite far. I could buy the holy trinity, the 2.8 lenses and the film camera body. That's $3,000 for me. But these days, $3,000 probably only get you like a lens, some of the lenses.
Well, you got expensive taste, Jimmy. You're gonna have to think this through quite carefully.
So okay, let's start the conversation with you then, Rod. And so for $3,000, coming from you, what would you get in 2025?
So are we going to limit this to Micro Four Thirds, or is it going to be everything, any brand?
Well. Okay, maybe we structure a little bit then. Okay, let's talk about Micro Four Thirds for $3,000, $3,000 for APS-C, $3,000 for full frame. Yeah, let's put it fair.
Oh, well, it's getting complicated, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. I'm hoping that there are people more than just the MFT users in this chat. Then we can see what sort of thing we can get by comparing them. So $3,000, let's say, will get you a little bit more in Micro Four Thirds, and so forth, right? $3,000 maybe a little bit less on the full frame.
Right. Well, now you've made it difficult. That's not fair. Right. Okay. So look. So Micro Four Thirds. I've had a little think, and this is what I would do. And you're going to have to help me add up the budget here, Jimmy. So I'm going to say, I would like to start off with my everyday carry.
Yep.
Just for carrying around, and that's going to be an EP7 with the 14 to 42 millimeter lens, probably still on there forever. Right. And I think in the UK you can get those around 600 now.
Okay, so you still got a lot of change left.
I've got 1900 left, right?
Yeah.
So I think for something a bit more substantial, I'm going to go for the 12 to 100 millimeter f4 zoom.
Oh yes.
So that's going to be £1,000, isn't it?
Yep.
Or more.
Yep.
So let's say we're up to Let's say we're up to 1600.
Yep.
I would quite like the 8 to 25 f4. How much is that?
That's about 800, something like that, right? 850, something like that.
Yeah. So I'm already up at around. Oh dear, that's not good. What am I up to?
So 1600,
Right.
18,
Okay.
2450. So let's say about £550 left.
So I can't have a. Oh, yeah, that's true. Right. So I
You can have a
used.
prime.
I'm gonna have used EM53
Oh, okay. Yes, yes.
because I in that budget I can't really afford an OM12 and any kind of lenses.
Yep,
So
yep.
I'm going to go for the lenses I want, and I think a used EM53 would be fine.
Right.
And
Okay.
until I can pull off some sort of insurance fraud and get a bit more money.
Well,
But no, I think that's what I would do.
yeah. So I would like to hear from all of you as well who are listening right now, and any. We're going to repeat this question because people usually join a little bit later. So any of you got $3,000, pound, euro, what would you get in 2025? New or used, and then so see what sort of thing you can come up with. So just run through a little bit of stories as well, Rod. Why do you choose those lenses? Because you got the 14 to 42, and then you got the 8 to 25,
Well, the 14 to
and then 12 to
42,
100. Yep.
14 to 42, bless it.
Yep.
It's a very practical lens, but you're not going to use it for serious work. It's great to have on a little body for carrying around for trips
Yep.
out, just to have with you, outings, holidays, whatever. But I think you probably want something with a bit more reach and a bit more optical quality for any serious work. And I think given my budget, I wish I'd give myself more money now. Given that budget, I think those two lenses would give the best focal range and image quality for the money available. So the 12 to 100 has got IS as well, which is good. And I happen to think the 8 to 25 is a lot better than most people imagine. I think it's a little better than the 7 to 14. And it's more practical. I mean, it's a stop slower, but f4 is all right.
Yep.
Those are the two lenses I would choose to give the most possible scope. If I don't have a clear plan for what I'm going to photograph. I mean, I like travel, I like street photography, I like architecture. For travel, I'm increasingly finding you need the option of a longer focal length, for things like sunsets, for mountains, for distant landscapes, even for close-ups of things across the street. So I'm starting to feel a need for a longer zoom range. But the 8 to 25 is just such a useful lens.
And also it's the coverage between, for the focal length, right? 8 to 25 is a very, very useful focal range.
Well, it stops you having to swap lenses at the worst possible moment. Because if you've got like a 16 to 35 equivalent, and then you've got a 24 to 70, you can bet that everything you want to shoot is right where they cross over, and you're constantly swapping, and that you haven't got time for that. It's annoying.
And this is exactly why I personally use the 8 to 25 more than the 7 to 14 2.8, because the 7 to 14, as good as it is, which is fantastic in low light because it's got a stop, better light gathering, and so it's useful in indoor and weddings and things like that. But I do a lot of travel and a lot of street, as you guys know, and so when it comes to street and photos, I tend to use the 8 to 25. Like you said, I don't usually like to swap lenses when I'm actually walking around. Having one lens just going around is quite handy. And a lot of the time when I use my lens and my camera, the focal range that I tend to stick with is either really wide or 25. So the 25 is one of my most used focal range, and if not, it will be somewhere between 17 or 20. Kind of like traditional 35 millimeters photography. Kind of that look that I'm going for. So the 7 to 14 doesn't really cover that.
It doesn't quite. It's a big old lens, and it doesn't go quite long enough. And I don't know whether maybe I've been doing this wrong for the past 40 years or whatever, but I find if I'm walking around having to change lenses, you need 3 hands. 2 never seems quite enough, because you've got the caps, you've got to hold back the lid of the bag, you've got to hold the lens, you've got to get the rear cap off while you're holding the lens and the bag open, and it's a nightmare. So I don't really like changing lenses. And also, that's the very moment somebody's going to barge into you, and a whole lot's going to go out of your hands. So
yeah, yeah, that's right. And
that's my plan.
we already see some comments coming through now. Anthony from
Oh yeah, yeah.
Newfoundland, Canada. Oh yeah, wow. Newfoundland
Okay.
is a place that I haven't heard for a while, so that's well done. And before you guys know that I actually I used to live in Canada for a couple of years. So I lived in Vancouver, so I know a lot all the places in Canada. I just haven't traveled to all of them. So Newfoundland is really cool, right? Okay,
That's pretty
so
far north, isn't it?
it is, yes. I think it's,
Yeah.
is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Newfoundland's in the west coast. I'm not entirely sure. West side of
East?
Canada, west or east? Hang on. East side.
East.
Not west side. West side's Vancouver, right? Which way I was. So I got no sense of direction, as you can tell right now. Anyway,
That's why I never went there.
yeah, and Anthony actually said that he has everything that he needs. All he needs for that $3,000 to get a new computer.
Oh yeah, but don't forget. According to my backstory, it's all been lost at sea, Anthony. You've got nothing. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's all gone. You've got to pretend. Got to pretend.
You gotta pretend. You gotta pretend. But actually, he raised a good point, though. He raised a good point. You know, a lot of people, when it comes to buying cameras, for instance, they never really thought about computers. You know, especially those who may have some older computers, for instance.
Yeah.
If you buy some of the newer cameras who have high resolutions and things, once you start pumping into the computer, load up the Lightroom or whatever software you use, you will find your computer may struggle a little bit to process them, or takes a long time to render it or export them, because they just simply don't have enough computational power to do so. And even worse, if you start to use any of the AI features that we have these days, right? AI noise reduction from DxO, for instance, those could take a long time if you process anything over 25 megapixels in the older computers. New computers may not be so bad, but if you batch process them, it's still going to take some time. So yeah, computer, I think, is another item that I think people may overlook quite easily.
I think so. I mean, I bit the bullet a couple of years back and upgraded my computer, and I got a Mac Studio, which apparently has got hardware AI circuitry. I don't know whether it actually uses
neural engine, right? Something they call neural engine.
That's the one. Neural engine. That's what I was trying to say. So I think mine's got 32 gigabytes of RAM, which seems to just about enough. So it'd be interesting to see what other people go for. I think if I was to do it again, I'll probably go to 64.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to have an SSD, not a hard drive, because it's too slow otherwise. But I'll try upgraded. I could do DxO, deep prime noise reduction on images of any size. Say on 40 megapixel Fujifilm images, it might be 10 seconds an image. 10 or 12, so it's quite quick now. But of course, if you've got 400 to do, it's all relative, isn't it? You have to go away and have some.
It's all relative, but I could give you some sort of numbers, you know, just in case you guys may not appreciate what we're trying to say here. I used to have a Intel Mac, you know. Okay, so I'm always a Mac guy, but I used to have an Intel chip on my Mac. And I already started using DxO back then, and the Pure Raw, the very first couple of editions, on an Intel Mac. And to batch process, well, don't forget that we always have 20 megapixel Micro Four Thirds files for quite a long time now. So it's actually quite a reasonable comparison. So 20 megapixel files in an Intel computer used to take, let's say, batch process about 100. It used to take about a couple of hours on the Intel Mac. And then and now on my I haven't got the latest Mac, but I have the M2. So the M2 Macs easily process these 100 photo in about 15 to 20 minutes. So that's the difference between the two. So if you do a lot of denoising using AI capable softwares, these would be the differences you will be witnessing. So the newer generation's computer, whether it's going to be on PC or Mac, has significant impact on performance, especially those with neural engines built into the chipset. So that is actually quite significant, although it will set you back quite a lot of money.
It is quite useful for things like AI masking as well.
Yeah.
And any kind of non-destructive editing where you've got quite a lot of processes happening concurrently. So
yes,
you notice when you go back to an old and slow computer, but when you keep upgrading, you take it for granted. But
I know. Well, that's a funny story, because I had to send my M2 Mac for service last year, so I had an Intel Mac still at home, so I used it as a backup. So I had to run everything through there for a couple of days, and I forgot how slow it was. And like you said, any of the AI masking would take minutes. So like I thought I click on it, it would just appear. No, it took minutes to actually register the shape and form and things like that. Oh my god, I didn't know how slow it was.
It is hard work. So that's an interesting. We'll have to have a talk about computers at some point.
We do.
But Jimmy, you've lost all your gear. I know you've got quite expensive taste in camera gear. How are you going to replace it for my budget?
Right. Okay. For $3,000. Okay. I would have to go for the do it all OM5. Right. OM5 Mark OM5 Mark II, because you can get it for $1,000, brand new. That's the list price, right? So it's relatively affordable. For the stuff that I do, I mean, I usually use Prime anyway, and because now the new 1.8 Mark II Prime lenses, the 17 and 25, are now weather sealed, so I can actually get two of them side by side for roughly about 600 quid. So now 1,600. So now I've got 1,400 left. So for the 1,400, I want to zoom as well. So I want to zoom that I could, do some long tele shots. So I'll still go for the 40 to 150. So that's roughly about
2.8.
Yeah, 2.8. So that's about 1,200. So I got £200 left. I got £200 left. But don't forget, these are all brand new, and then, so £200. I could potentially score one of the cheap second-hand Laowa ultra-wide lenses, whether it's be 7.5 or 9mm f2 or 2.8. And those, I think, second-hand, you can probably get them for roughly about 200 quid. So I get them all in for $3,000.
And just one body. Just one camera.
Fine. Just one body is fine. I'm okay with that.
Sorry.
And everything's weather sealed, so I could go out and shoot anywhere with no problem worrying about weathers and things like that.
Interesting. Okay, that your kit choice is completely different to mine. Do you know what I would have thought? What you chose is something I should have, and what I chose is perhaps something you should have.
Right. Just pause for a second. So for those who didn't understand what we're talking about, who just joined us, our chat, we are trying to ask everyone right here listening that if suddenly you lose all your gear, everything,
complete reset,
complete reset, and you have £3,000, dollar, or euro, what would you buy in 2025? Right. And so give us a list. We just said that it can be new gear or used gear. So let's see how you can compose your list of gear for 3,000. The magic figure is 3,000. So let's see what you can come up with. I think we already saw Chuck already got something here, and you got an EM13 for 750 with tax. So you got another two and a bit grand, and then he got it, and probably go for the 8 to 25 f4 and 40 to 150 f4. Good choices.
I went away for a week in Cornwall with that combination. And wouldn't you just know it? Everything was in between them. Everything I wanted to photograph was between 25 and 40. I think I was just so worried about it, I became fixated on that. But that is an interesting combination, because that 40 to 150 f4, that is a very compact lens. Quite good.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful lens. Yes.
I think you have to be slightly careful at 150 millimeters, because in-body stabilization isn't at its best with long focal lengths. But as long as you're careful with your hand holding and keep it steady, it's very sharp.
Or use a faster shutter speed, and just slightly faster. You still got IBIS, which is quite effective, but compared to others, it's not as great. Especially if you compare to your lens as well, the 12 to 100 f4 Pro. That's got the lens IS, and it will work in tandem with the body IS. So it's got dual IS going. So it's really, really stable, that lens.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I kind of missed something a little bit faster, but you know, that's all my fictional insurance assessor will pay me. Yeah. So I've only got 3,000 to spend. That's what I'm going to spend. John, I like some of your thinking there, Jimmy. I'm wondering if I've chosen the wrong gear. I'll have a little bit of a think about that. But
So
I see Angelo Playful one is going for Fujifilm.
yeah, you know
So
what? You know what? The XS20 is something that I'm looking at.
It's it's a good call. It's good value and very capable, I think.
Yes.
I'm not sure how much the 18 to 120 f4 costs. Is that does that leave any money left over?
I'm
Maybe
not
it
sure.
does.
I don't think I even know that that lens exists. Does it actually exist? The 18 to 120?
It does. It does. I think it's more of a cinema type lens, isn't it?
Right. It's a massive zoom range. 18 to 120.
XF.
It's almost like 24 to 200
to
kind of zoom
120.
range. So it's a very, very long lens and a constant f4 aperture.
It does exist. It's the XF 18 to 120 f4 LMPZWR. So it's a power zoom lens.
Ooh.
It's about 800. So
It's not too bad, then.
Angelo, you got some money left over.
Yeah.
Got to spend a bit more.
But I have to say,
I think
the XS20 is brilliant.
the XS20 is a good call.
Yeah.
Because it's decent battery life. You don't get the shutter speed dial and the ISO dial. It's more of a conventional control layout. But that's all right. But I think if I was doing that, I would look at a couple of the Sigma f2.8 zooms as well. So the 10 to 18 f2.8, remarkably small and very good for X mount, and there's a 28 to, that's not 28, is it? It's 18 to 50 f2.8, which is also quite good.
Yes.
They don't have aperture rings, but on the XS20, that wouldn't matter. And I think I might pick those over the Fujinon lenses.
I would go one further. Exactly the lens I'm testing at the moment.
I know. Yes, I know.
Which is the 15 to 40 f1.8 constant aperture.
Incredible.
800 quid, fully weather sealed, got aperture ring, and then it's really lightweight. It's fantastic. It works well with smaller body like the XS20. In fact, I'm using it on the XM5. So the XS20 is basically XM5 with the EVF on it. So I know it works on the XM5. A good grip. And yeah,
got good grip on the XS20.
That is one of the reasons I think the XS20 is kind of on my radar at the moment. So it's an interesting camera. And also, better still, this I really don't like the 40 megapixel X-Trans sensor, and this one still has a 26.
Have you tried it? The 40 megapixel sensor.
I tried it on the. I tried it the XT5. I tried it on the XT5.
So it's not just me saying it. You don't like it either.
No, I don't like it. Not just about the sharpness, but more about the overall performance of it. For some reasons, I keep getting missed AF shots. So missing focus.
I did a lot.
So and that doesn't actually happen at all with my XM5. And despite it being a lower end camera, a more primitive camera. But the AF is spot on the XM5. I mean, I keep getting hit, every single time with CAF or single focus. Doesn't matter what mode I set, tracking, everything's on point. But I can't do the same with the XT5, despite that is like supposed to be a flagship camera, right?
I had random errors. I thought it was the lens, but no, I got it with all sorts of lenses. Stuff would just not be in focus, and there's no reason for it.
No,
got focus confirmation and everything.
So that got me thinking, like if I want to get a new Fujifilm camera, something with a grip, I still want a 26 megapixel camera using the latest processor, not the older processor. That would have been the XS20 because that's got the latest processor, but the older sensor.
Has it got X processor 5 or is it X processor?
I think it's
4?
5, right? And because the XM5 is quite fast. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm mistaken. While Rod is checking, and let me see what the other comments here. Oh my God! Anthony came back. So my lens kit with the 150 to 600, 12 to 100, 60 macro, all made by Olympus. Whoa! And OM system. This is my outdoor kit.
I think this is Anthony. Is this what you've already got? Not I don't think that won't go with the budget we've set, will it?
No, I think just
Just
the lenses,
don't
just the lenses go over the budget.
just don't go out to sea with your gear, because that's where the accident happened in my story. So keep your gear on dry land.
Yeah. Okay. And
so Jimmy, if you're talking APS-C,
yeah.
you're going to go with Fujifilm. You're not tempted by Canon or Sony or Nikon?
Interesting. No. And because, well, first of all,
Okay.
from Nikon's point of view, I already have the ZF-Z, which I actually don't use. I use the ZF most of the time. And the using experience is very similar, but the APS-C Nikon camera just doesn't quite cut it. First of all, it's very sluggish to start with. Comparatively, and also because the mechanical shutter speed tops at 4,000, and the electronic shutter also tops at 4,000, doesn't go anything further. So it's very slow. So you can't use any fast primes or fast lenses if you want to open wide and get shallow depth of field. You have to use ND filter to do that. So that is a big no for me straight away. So it's not flexible enough for me to do or adapt to all kinds of different situations or aesthetic that I want to go for.
No IBIS.
So no IBIS, that's another big thing. So for the price, I think I could get better than that. And then think Canon, I don't know. I'm not so sure about the full frame stuff are good, but I'm not so sure about the APS-C stuff. It kind of, I don't know. They forgot about it altogether.
You have to go all the way to the EOS R7 to get in-body stabilization, and that's quite an expensive camera.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think Sony could be all right. Sony, and do they still make the A6000 series or?
The A6700 might tick all your boxes. I mean, it's not especially exciting, but it's got stabilization. It's got good video features. It's got Sony's 26 megapixel sensor, which probably has got slightly better readout speed than the old one.
Yep.
So that would be all right. It's just not the most exciting design, but that could be an option. But I think it costs more than the XS20.
Yeah. So I guess, like having seen all of these stuff, I think Fujifilm might actually hit the sweet spot for if you want to go for APS-C formats, and you kind of take more boxes than many others, and they look, to be quite frank, right? They all look quite good, just on the bodies.
Yeah, they do.
So that's the thing. So Rob Mills is here, and let's see what is here. PC building for photographer is interesting. Different application use CPUs, cores, threads, and GPU differently. You need to tailor it to your needs. It'll be interesting for you to chip in a little bit more, because we want to understand as well sometimes. Obviously, I'm not a computer nerd. Exactly how good it is, and because I know different software utilize different resources in the computer, and some can run better or optimize for certain hardware than the others. You always see that some software actually say that it's optimized for Apple Silicons or M2 or M3 processor. You see that they advertise, so I don't know how true they are when it comes to performance differences. Are they actually that better when you compare to, let's say, using a PC, having similar sort of equivalent spec in in the chipset, whether they do run differently, slower or faster than the others? It's quite hard to tell, because I'm not technical enough to actually say anything like that.
I think they're quite dissimilar platforms in a number of ways, and it's quite hard to make direct comparisons. I think if you want to get heavily into performance PCs, I think you will get more power for your money than with Apple. But I think you'll probably have to get more involved in some quite detailed hardware configurations and specifications. You're going to have to know a little bit more about it, I think. And the other thing is that the software is not always the same on both platforms. So on Windows, there are applications that simply don't have Mac versions. I'd say the big ones are available on both, but I couldn't honestly say which one is going to perform best. I mean, Affinity Photo was originally designed for Mac, then ported onto Windows. But I'm quite sure it's not as simple as it's not going to be some half-baked emulation mode. It would have been rebuilt for the Windows platform. So I'm not sure that the software is better on one than another.
Yeah.
It's just I think if you're going to get heavily into specifying a powerful PC for photo editing and video, I
Yep.
think you'll probably get more power for your money, but you're going to have to be a lot more technically aware to know what to ask for.
Yeah.
That's my very crude understanding of where it is. I used to write about Windows more than Mac years ago, but it's been a few years since I was heavily involved in the Windows
Yeah.
in the Windows market.
I see. And also I know that, obviously a lot of PC users, if they have desktop computer, they have dedicated graphics card, and that helps a lot when it comes to graphics processing and things like that. And a lot of the CPU load will be offset to the graphics card instead of loading up to the central CPU.
So I don't know whether I don't know whether it's still the case, sir, but there are graphics cards and graphics cards. So do you still have to make sure that the software you want to run will play nicely with the graphics card you've got?
Yeah. So that would be interesting to see the differences. But I know it can get really complicated, and I'm not very complicated man when it comes to computers. So as long as it works to the speed that I want for business, and I'm really happy. So, and in some way, people will say, "Oh, you're just a Mac nerd and things like that." So I've just been using Mac for years, just because I hate configuration. I hate to check compatibility. And something work for Mac, it just works, and I just don't have to worry too much about things in the long term, and so everything seems to just kind of smoothly integrated into my workflow.
I think some people like rolling their sleeves up and getting stuck in, and some don't, and it varies. So I made a terrible mistake a few weeks ago. I went out with two old school friends, and one of them asked the other about replacing his computer, and then the rest of the evening we spent listening to the other guy talking about Linux distributions and PC hardware and what software would run, etc., etc. And he should do this and try that. And I thought, you know what? I should go and find somebody else to talk to. But I think we'd be the same if we started talking to other people about cameras. I'd say, can you just not shut up? Because isn't a camera just a camera? Leave me alone. Just give me a camera. Leave me alone. We're nerds as well.
You literally just push people away from our chat now. Just shut up. Just leave. Leave us alone.
They're all like us. They're all like us, Jimmy. They're all like us. We're just like little crowd of people who can't think outside our particular thing. Yeah.
Right. And Anthony's come back now and say Newfoundland and the Labrador, Canada is the wilderness wonderland for wildlife and landscape photography, and I've used equipment as cold as -30 Celsius. Ooh, have you experienced -30?
I'm pretty sure a lot of my equipment would pack up at -30, and my camera gear. Leave it there.
I think the coldest I've ever experienced was kind of -15, -20 when I was in Iceland.
Same here.
Yeah, -30. Oh my god.
but in those temperatures, even at -15 or 20, I think I probably had a similar experience to you, Jimmy. You have to think very carefully. If you need to take your gloves off to do something with the camera, they've got to go back on straight away. Otherwise, you lose feeling and you can't really do anything.
No.
And you've got so many coats and layers on. You're walking around like this, So.
and you definitely don't want to change lenses, right? In those scenarios.
You do not want to do that. No.
Yeah.
So -30. I think that might be a bit too much for me. I don't usually feel the cold very badly, but that sounds a bit excessive.
Yeah, well, Anthony, I'm really eager to see some of your photograph, and I want to see some really like kind of winter shot from you, and that would be really awesome. Do share some with us, that would be really, really cool. And Mr. Underhill. Okay, so for $3,000, you get the Nikon SP limited edition. just the camera. I think that's the old film rangefinder camera. Yeah. That's a rare beast. That's
no more
rare
photography
beast.
then, unless you've already got a lens.
That's
Don't
okay.
All your gear.
It's a
all
Shell
your gear's
Queen.
at the bottom of the North Sea.
It's a Shell Queen. I mean, I would love to have one of those. You know, just put it on a shelf, just admiring
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I don't need to take pictures anymore. I can just look at my Nikon SP.
That will be, that's my dream, one of my dream cameras, and yeah, that's really
interesting.
Nice. Really nice. And right, Rob's come up with a big list. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right, let's see. OM5 Mark II with ambassador discount. £900.
Is that cheating?
All right. Okay.
Okay.
You add the use prime to 12, 250, 17 Pro 500, 25 Pro 500, 40. So you get all the Pro primes, yeah? Okay, right. Okay. And then 75 1.8 400, all in $3,000. That's a big list.
Well,
I think that's better than me.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried now. If I rush this, wow. It's interesting, isn't it, that both you and Rob have brought up the OM5 II, probably one of the most reviled recent releases according to the photography press as a whole. But a camera that gives you a lot of all-round capability for not a great deal of money.
I mean, we talked a little bit about that in the last couple of chats. You know, the OM5 on paper, at least on paper, doesn't look fairly exciting. You know, because it's the same sensor, it's the same processor, a little bit update here and there, but it's still a very, very capable all-rounder if you think about it, especially for the price.
Well, the way you could look at it is that we all want progress. You know, to progress towards a final destination. You could say that OM5 II has got there.
Yeah,
you've got to where you wanted to go. That's another way of looking at it. It's a very good, affordable all-rounder.
It is. I mean, the CAF is good. It may not have AI subject tracking, you know, or this and that like the OM1 or the OM3. But to be quite honest, you know, like for those who brought up with the older generations of cameras, if you've got a very capable CAF, you don't necessarily need to have AI subject tracking. You know, like you can just select your AF point to it, and track it that way. It's still as effective, if not sometimes better, than a newer type of AI tracking, because you're relying on the computer to look for the subject and track for you.
I think you use older skills as well. I remember doing a motorsport apprentice feature with a pro sports photographer back in Nikon DSLR days.
Yeah,
there was no AI subject recognition, of course, and the autofocus tracking didn't really exist because it's all done via, it's an SLR, so it's a separate AF sensor. But it had dynamic area AF setup where you have about 5 focus points. The central one is the one you use, and all the others are constantly checking if it's moved away from where you framed it and keeping it in focus. So the older systems are more basic, but if you knew how they worked and what they did, they were very effective. So
well, I mean, they are. I mean, of course, then you can see all these old photographers, like, you know, got these amazing shots in the past. You know, like it's just a proven that it can be done. You know, with skills and experience. Something that we probably somehow forgotten about it, because we now almost rely exclusively on this AI stuff now. It does work. It works very well when it works. I have to say, reiterate again, if it works or when it works, because sometimes the AI doesn't really work too well when you have multiple subjects happening at the same time. It simply sometimes confuses the system.
It also, you have to hope that the AI thinks what you want to photograph is actually what you do want to photograph.
Yeah,
because the AI is choosing a subject ahead of you, so you can I know tell the AI what kind of subject you're looking for. But then that's one more job for you to think about when you're already quite busy taking pictures. So I'm not completely convinced by it.
You can select the subject when multiple subjects detect it. You can select it, and all cameras let you do that. But like you said, it's an extra step.
All takes half a second.
Yes.
And half a second of concentration. And that's enough. So like in your line of work, that's enough for the newlyweds to be off the dance floor and looking the wrong way or pulling a face or whatever. You don't need the extra complication.
Yeah, exactly. Funny you mentioned that because I spoke to a couple of motorsport journalists that I know, and they said that I did ask them a question the other day, and they said, do you use these like new AI thing that you have on the cameras, you know, like the car tracking or whatever, you know? They said,
Yeah.
no, I don't. You know, like it's really, you know, it's much faster for me just to select the point of focus and just track it that way. You know, if they want to track a certain driver or car, that's the best way to do it, you know, and there's no other way around it.
I think as well, in fact, motorsport is not as severe a test of the autofocus as you might think, because you know where the cars are going and the speed they're traveling. So it's not quite as random or as fast as it looks, because you can predict where stuff is going to be, where it's going to, and it's just it's not very difficult test. I mean, motocross might be, I suppose.
Yeah, no, because the reason I asked them, because I saw a lot of photographs recently when people photographing Grand Prix, and so they're trying to do the first turn shot. So they will stage it in the center when everybody rushing, trying to get past each other. So that can be a very confusing shot because you have 20 cars on the grid, all trying to get into each other. But if the photographer wants to get a particular driver, and then an AI subject tracking may not necessarily work. Let's say if there's another car right next to it, getting very close.
Yeah.
And then, you know, which one do you want to decide? So if you want to decide, let's say you want to track Hamilton, for instance, then that will be the only one that you want to select.
Or the driver you choose in advance.
Yes.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
But a couple of other drivers who the autofocus is ignoring, something does happen. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by the whole thing. It seems to me it sounds convincing, but it sounds to me as if it's always going to be that little extra bit of complexity to get it set up. And you can't react in the same way as you can with a dumb system.
Yes. And also, don't forget the people who photograph those type of shots will use the extreme long lenses. You know, they will be using like 800, 1000, 1200 lenses. They are really long lenses. Yeah. And that means the compression in the scene is to be significant. So on the grid, suddenly you all look like 20 cars are bunched up together. So they will literally look like side by side.
Yeah. And I think most motorsports photographers, and I think this also applies to any kind of sports photography and press photography and wildlife photography, you can see when and where something is building and likely to happen, and you just need to be able to react to it quickly.
Yes, anticipation.
So you do need to know your gear.
Yeah, absolutely, and also experience. You know what to expect and everything. The reason I leave Rob's comment out is trying to highlight another point. You know, because earlier when I said about using my $3,000 to buy new my gear, what I chose, but what I chose was mostly new gear. Right, so apart from the last £200, I opt for the second-hand wide-angle lens. But Rob, apart from the camera, everything else is used, and you can see how much you can get and how many lenses you can get when you buy used, and that is significant. How many lenses you got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lenses, all brilliant lenses with a body.
I will say as well that it's worth keeping an eye on OM Systems promotions. This might just be the UK. I can't speak for other territories.
Yep.
But my 12mm f2, which is normally £500-600.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it was under 300 during the promotion I bought it in.
That is a steal.
My 45 1.8 was 150 after cashback. So it's worth checking the OM shop.
Yes.
I know there's a comment earlier on. It seems to be down at the moment around the stock, but in general, always check.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you get an email from OM Systems saying special promotion, click on it because they're often very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we just gone past a summer period promotion, and but there will be more coming. Usually they have like a Black Friday promotions, then they have Christmas promotion.
Yeah,
look out for those deals because you can save quite a lot of money actually, especially you're in the market getting a new camera or a couple of lenses. Sometimes they do this kits kind of thing. You get the camera and the lens, you save for like 500-600 quid, which is ridiculous. And then you can get an extra lens on top of another saving or cashback. So all in all, you could potentially save you quite a lot of money. But just to throw you in the mix, the 12mm, if you do get one, get a square hood because it looks good.
I know. I wish I had, but they're expensive. Those square hoods.
They are, yes, and but you can get aftermarket one, but I think you should get the original. Original is made a lot better. I had a third party one, just didn't look good.
No, it's all about the looks as well.
Oh
right?
yes,
But
yes.
those square hoods are good. But I did notice when we're talking about when we're back with MFT and all our MFT gear at the bottom of the sea, we're replacing it. Nobody's talked about Lumix.
Interesting. How many Lumix users here?
Nobody's going to buy any Lumix G gear then.
Interesting talk now.
Suddenly, I'll leave that hanging there.
Right. Yeah, if you, well, I'm pretty sure all of you will, if you're MFT user, you'll be familiar with both sides, right? In terms of lens choice, for instance, may not necessarily the camera side, but that's when lens choices are usually we're quite familiar with, especially the higher end ones, like the Panasonic Leica lenses, they're quite well known. The 15-1.7 Mark II, was it the 8 to 14 Panasonic?
Yeah, Yeah, but that's a variable aperture one, isn't it? It's 2.8 to f4.
And they have the 12mm f1.4, the 42.5 1.2, or what? And the Nocticron, and then they have the two massive zoom lenses, the 1,800-pound one. I can't remember. They did two focal lengths now.
There are two.
Yes.
I think there's a 50 to 100. Is it? 1.8, something like that.
1.7, I think. 1.7
I'm guessing.
constant.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
But I was going to mention two rather more ordinary lenses from the Lumix lineup. Both of them 12 to 60s. So there's the Panasonic 12 to 60.
Yep.
f2.8 to f4. So that's basically a 24 to 120.
Yep.
f2.8 to f4. That's a very good lens, and that's a very useful focal range. For people who don't want the bulk of the OM system 12 to 100. The other one is a few months back I tested the Lumix G97, which is basically a relaunch of the G90
with a USB-C port.
Colossal difference, transformed everything. But that came with the ordinary 12 to 160. Sorry, 12 to 160. 12 to 60.
Yeah.
f3.5 to 5.6. And you might think, it's going to be very average. It's not. It's extremely sharp lens right across the focal range. So if you just want a cheap long range kit zoom, I'd certainly recommend that. If you don't mind putting a Lumix G lens on your OM body. Not everybody's cup of tea, but should work.
But funny enough, there's one lens that I want, it's kind of underrated. I know optically it may not be as good compared to the Olympus equivalent. It's the 35 to 100 2.8. It's tiny. It's a tiny lens with a constant 2.8 aperture.
Yeah,
it's good focal. It's a good focal range. It's light. Optically, I'm pretty certain, because I did try that before, and not as sharp as the 40 to 150 by comparison, because kind of in terms of focal range, constant 2.8 aperture is kind of within that kind of categories. But if you're purely looking for size and weight, you want a light option with 2.8 aperture, that is a brilliant choice as well.
Yeah, I mean, I say tiny, it's not tiny, but it is small. If you this is one of those times where you compare, because that's effectively a 70 to 200 f2.8 in full frame terms. If you compare that Panasonic lens to a full frame 70 to 200, it's insane, the difference in size and weight.
Yeah.
So I think I agree about the sharpness. The only thing I found is that I think that lens is sharper on Panasonic bodies, and I think there's something going wrong between the lenses IS and OM bodies. I got much better results if I switched off the lens IS on my OM bodies. Weird, it shouldn't happen, but I did notice that. Right, but no, there are a couple of good Panasonic lenses.
Yeah. So let me know in the comment section below as well, and to see what sort of Lumix combo you would get for $3,000. So far, we got no Lumix users here.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're suggesting only Lumix G?
No, I just want to see if anyone would come up with a Lumix list of gear for $3,000. Anthony did come back now. 3,000 is about almost 5,500 Canadian.
Yeah.
That will be just enough to replace the OM1 Mark II 12100 and a few miscellaneous accessories, as well as taxes to replace.
Oh yeah, pay taxes.
Yeah. Actually, if you think about it, OM1 Mark II is retail for 1,900 in the UK now, street price, and the 12-100 is roughly 1,200 quid. Roughly the same. Yeah, it's $3,000. So round about right. Yeah, round about right.
Yeah. Expensive times.
It is. Now we think of it.
So, right. Just to make things especially difficult, what would you choose from the full frame market, Jimmy? Because that's not a lot of money, is it? What are you going to do? Because you can replace your ZF, but you're not going to get many lenses to go with it, are you?
No. But then I do have one. Option. I would buy another ZF, and because now the ZF has gone down in price, you can get a brand new one for about 1,800. So I'll keep the ZF. So I'll buy another one. But lens-wise, I would go for the Tamron 35-150 f2 to 2.8. So one lens kind of do it all, and I know it's a heavy beast, it's big, but it's one lens can kind of cover almost everything that I need. And the street price is roughly 1,200, so I got within the $3,000.
And you can do all your work. You can do all your work with that.
I can do all my work with that camera and that lens. Yes.
Until you've got a few more tasty commissions, then you can buy some more stuff.
Yes.
But
yes.
I'm gonna go along with you. Today's Tamron mirrorless lenses are. I haven't tried them all, but the ones I have tried are very, very good.
Yes.
For the money. Same with Sigma. So I wouldn't shun Tamron or Sigma lenses. So you're not going to go with Canon or Sony?
Well, first of all, I mean, like Canon, I think unless you go for used body, their bodies are fairly expensive. You want something relatively decent. And how much is R5 these days?
Too much. You can't. Well, I think you'd probably be able to get a cheap kit zoom to go with it. No, I think the original R5 you can probably 2.5, something like that.
Yeah.
But if you go used, a little less, but it's still going to be well over 2, I think.
And the problem with Canon is that because of what they did to third-party lens makers, and that means there aren't many third-party options out there. So you have to get native lenses, and they are expensive if you buy brand new. But even second-hand, they're not that much cheaper. So I don't think I can get that much for $3,000, to be honest.
Well, I think that the setup I've got is certainly fits the budget, but I'm not sure it'd fit your needs. So the EOS R8 is now quite cheap. It's a little over 1,000. You don't get IBIS, but you do get very good video features and excellent AF and high-speed shooting and a lot of plastic, sadly. As for the lenses, those Canon L series lenses, they're just out of the ballpark for budget.
Yeah.
So I think you'd be limited to the consumer lenses.
Yeah.
Some of those are all right, but again, there's a lot more plastic. But the consumer primes, while they're quite fast, they're quite noisy. The autofocus is not smooth.
I guess I could potentially, based on what you said, Canon is completely out of the window. I think they're just too expensive, and not many options outside of the Canon brand.
Yeah, it's Canon lenses or nothing really.
Yeah.
For practical purposes.
So that's no good. And then so
Okay.
I think Sony's potential candidate for my $3,000, and you can get an A7, whatever version. They're pretty okay, especially A7 IV onward is pretty okay, and you can get them relatively
Yeah.
okay price. And there are a lot of third-party options. Viltrox have made some amazing lenses for E-mounts.
Yeah.
So you can go quite far with the Viltrox lenses. And also, obviously, Sigma makes a E-mount as well, and so you can get some Sigma lenses on it. So potentially it could go with the A7, but look, the ZF is actually pretty decent camera on its own. It's fully metal, weather sealed, got IBIS, so it's take a lot of boxes straight away. It may not be a video beast, but it should, decent, okay video. It's got capable AF. Throw a decent lens on it, you get pretty okay job as well. I guess it's either gonna be, if I go for $3,000, spend it on full frame cameras, it's either gonna be Sony or Nikon. But for me, I think that it's more appealing to me to get the Nikon and the Tamron lens, because they're both kind of high grade stuff. So I get high grade stuff for not too much of a money by comparison.
I think Sony's an interesting, because I know you and I both find the cameras quite dull. You have to get past that. If you're doing it for your living, it's too bad. You've got to crack on and get on with it, haven't you? But I think Sony's dropped back a little bit in tech compared to all the others. So I think I'd be inclined to put Canon's dual pixel AF and subject recognition a little ahead of Sony's AF now.
Okay.
And I think that on the video side as well, so even if you go for the Sony A7 IV, which is still fairly expensive, you have to go down to a crop mode to shoot 4K 60. There's no open gate video. I mean, by today's standards, any affordable Sony is fairly primitive. By today's standards for video, primitive, that's too strong, but it's not up with the latest competition. I mean, you wouldn't go for a Panasonic Lumix S gear then. It's cheap. Cheap.
Well, I did think about it, and because you can also get Sigma lenses, because the L mount aligned. So there are basically there are a ton of Sigma lenses you can adapt to the Lumix S line. But I don't know. I just don't quite like the S camera.
You couldn't bring yourself. You couldn't bring yourself.
I'm okay with the Lumix Micro Four Third cameras, but I'm just not so sure about the full frame cameras. I don't know why. I know you said that they're quite capable and everything, and but I don't know. I just can't quite get past it. But I touched it. I used it. It a bit like Sony. Like I just can't get my hand around it. Just feeling confident about it.
So it's like some cameras, you pick them up and go, "Hey, let's go." And others you pick them up and you're like, "Oh, do I have to?"
I don't want, I'm already doing this daily, right? I don't want to pick up a camera and say, oh, it's a chores again, like I have to shoot with you again, and I want something that kind of reignite my passions and give me a little bit extra juice to go out and shoot.
So I thought I'd mention this comment from Chuckell about
which one I'm going to bring it up.
Rocking on lenses. This is the latest one. The full frame Sony Samyang rocking on 35mm lenses. This interests me because for years and years and years, as head of testing at Future, I was overseeing all the lab testing, which of course is always about distortion, chromatic aberration, resolution. You can't test the rendering of lenses, and I do notice more and more that even amongst people who do photography for a living, they are starting to value the look that the gear gives them at least as much as the actual performance. And it's interesting as well. I think the whole market's opened up. There are a lot of characterful lenses that aren't very expensive.
No, that's right.
And they make me think. I think they probably make you think as well. That if this lens gives me a look I want, why should I pay thousands?
I guess in some way now, as the market matures, as more people are into photography, use more lenses and more gear, and gaining more experience in different renderings, they kind of starting to see, it's not just about sharpness, it's not just about, how much bokeh you can get, but it's the overall aesthetic, the overall look of the image that it creates, whether it's shooting wide open or stop down. And because all lenses are different, and so I think now we get to the point that people are now starting to look for the rendering, which is actually more appreciative than just going for spec reading. This one can shoot f1, they can do really fast AF motoring actions and things like that. It's got no loca, got no chromatic aberrations. It's not just about all of those stuff. It's all about the images that you create, and whether you like the look of the image at the end, because that's the image you want to create, right?
And it's just reminded me of a lens that our hypothetical Fujifilm kit maybe ought to have. It's the 50mm f1.
Oh, that
which
I love that lens.
Everybody's forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And I think if you use it at f1, you could say, well, it's not razor sharp, but it looks just beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks amazing at f1.
Yes. I love that lens.
Even if the peak sharpness of f1 isn't as high as it is when it's stopped down, the contrast between your sharp plane of focus and a beautiful soft background is intense.
Yeah.
So where it's sharp, it looks incredibly sharp. So yeah, I think that is a lens that I would try and buy if I could find one.
Yeah. Well, I tested it last Christmas. I borrowed it
from
Fujifilm.
Had one. You had one. Yeah.
I had one for testing. I had it for 3 weeks, and I loved every minute of it.
Did you like it?
I love it. Yeah. I really like it.
Yeah.
And you think about what it is. It's actually not ultra expensive either. If you think in a 50 f1 autofocus, don't forget it's autofocus, not manual focus. The full metal construction. It's got a Fujinon design on it. It does give you some lovely rendering. And I really think it's a bargain for what it is. It doesn't cost an arm and leg. Like the Leica lenses. We go for anything. Closer to that is really expensive. It just performs way better than a lot of the Chinese options to start with at f1. Because there are literally millions of f1 lenses from China now, and so it's not exclusive. But for what it is, I really think it's a great option.
I think what that Fujinon lens does is at f1, it's sufficiently aberration free to be more than acceptable.
Yeah.
The edges don't disappear into much. You haven't got horrible longitudinal or lateral chromatic aberration. Where it's sharp, it does really look sharp, but the focus fall off is just extraordinary. Isn't it funny how some lenses, most lenses, go from sharp to out of focus? It's just like a switch. There's no gradation. But that 50mm f1, it's just got beautiful gradation.
It's a little bit like the Olympus Pro lenses, the feather bokeh, the 1.2 prime lenses. It has that character that goes from sharp to unsharp really gradually, kind of really soft.
Exactly.
And I like that look, and that is why one of the reasons why I like the 1.2 lenses from Olympus was because of that very reason. I compared the Lumix 42.5 Nauticron against the 45mm 1.2 Olympus Pro lens side by side, and I actually prefer the look from the Olympus version than the Nauticron. Nauticron does look sharp, don't get me wrong, it's a very sharp lens, but it's sharp to the point that, like you just said, it's sharp and then unsharp. There's nothing in between. It pops. Yeah, I mean, for some people may like that look. It just pops. Anything in focus, it just pops out from the frame. It looks cool, but I think I like it slightly more slightly more gentle transition between the sharp and the unsharp area. It's a little bit more pleasing in my eyes. But that again is personal, so everyone has a different preference for sure. So we have Chuck just saying about these Samyang and Rokinon. I personally haven't used a lot of Samyang lenses in the past.
I have no.
But I know Samyang also produced the 35 to 150 f2.2.8. It's not the same lens as the Tamron, I don't think. But unfortunately, Samyang only makes it for E mount, so it doesn't make any Z mount lenses. So I can't actually get one to try. The Rokinon, I used some their manual lenses before, but I haven't tried their new AF lenses, so I don't know how they perform. So
It's
that would be
same
interesting to
lenses.
see. Yeah.
It's just different branding, but as far as I can tell, they're the same lenses.
Right.
But it's just, I think the Rokinon name is used more in North America.
Aha, I
whereas
see.
Samyang more over here.
But
I
what
don't
I
know
also
quite how that's come about.
I also have these. This is the Zero 85 1.4 that I have been shooting for a while. Interesting lens, cheap AF, weather seal, fully metal construction. So this is another kind of budget option you can go for if you're using full frame cameras or APS-C from Canon, because they use the same mount, right? Not Canon, so Nikon Z, both APS-C and full frame use the same mount, so you can adapt to it. Just basically crop the frame into a slightly more central area. And Viltrox, I know you mentioned about 13518 from Samyang. I also have the Viltrox 13518. These are the heavy beasts, really heavy lens, but it's not expensive. I think it's about 750, 800 quid for this lens. The native Nikon version is about $3,500, so it's a massive difference in price. So I guess if you also another option is, apart from getting used gear, is maybe looking at the third party from China these days. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them, or almost all of them, are pretty affordable by comparison. That you don't have to spend a fortune in it, and still kind of keep within the $3,000 budget that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and it's difficult to judge what's going to be good and what you're going to like. It's very difficult for lens reviewers.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start using words like rendering, or drawing, or any subjective quality like that, you'll get a whole section of the internet shouting, "Shut up! Just show me the figures." And it's just something you can't test, but most people feel is quite important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see this comment from Anthony saying 6 months ago looked at getting the Z8 or EOS R5 because of the quality, and he makes the point that the cameras and lenses are double the price. When you go full frame, the minute you start getting serious about lenses, the whole scale of your investment changes. It's not just the cost, and Canon L series RF lenses are fiendishly expensive for what they are.
Yeah.
It's the size and the weight.
Yeah.
You know, the cameras aren't so bad, but if you want to shoot with a professional 70 to 200 f2.8 or most 24 to 70 2.8s on full frame, these are not small lenses.
Right.
You know, you're in a whole different ballgame, aren't you, with the size and weight of your kit? Yeah. Regardless, and that's not even allowing for what it costs you. So it's a different scale of investment. I think that's the trouble with going full frame. The cameras, it's quite cheap to get into.
Yeah.
But the cost just goes woof once you start getting serious about lenses.
I mean, but by comparison, if you get a flagship camera on Micro Four Third, whether it's going to be Lumix or OM system, you are looking at about $2,000. But on the flagship side and full frame, you are looking at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in a minimum. So it's multiple times more expensive. So it really depends on what your needs is. And so we are just, for those who are just joining us, the reason we talk about these stuff at the moment is because we want to discuss the options when you have to do a reset, whether, when you lose all your gear by accident or something happened, you lose everything, you have to restart, and you only have about £3,000, €3,000 and $3,000. What would you get in 2025 to rebuild your photography arsenal of gear that you want to shoot with, whatever you want to shoot? So we started a few different combinations, started from Micro Four Third, and we just talk about full frame stuff. And we would like to hear from you as well. What would you get with your $3,000? And that would be quite interesting to see the differences of choices that we have.
Or would anyone be like me? Because I get this from time to time. If I just to fill out my story a bit, I'm leaning over the balcony on my cruise ship, and I've dropped the whole lot in the sea. There's some systems I've had in the past where I thought, do you know what? I'm glad, because I've got all of that wrong. and I need to start again and get it right? Or is everybody very satisfied with the systems they've got? Because very often in the past, I've gone in the wrong direction with gear and only realized it later on. I bought into a system which wasn't right for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, if only I could go back and start again.
Yeah.
If only I could accidentally drop my gear over the side of the ship and get that insurance payout.
So it's really interesting because what I want to get a feel of it is that, let's say if you're existing Micro Four Third user, would you now buy into full frame or micro APS-C, and why? Or vice versa, if you've got a full frame gear,
somebody just gave you the money, start again.
You got $3,000, like to restart your photography journey, and you got $3,000. Would you buying full frame again, or you want to go to Micro Four Third or APS-C? Because we have a lot of choices nowadays for all kinds of budget, and even though we are restricting budget because it's more fair, right? Like not anyone have unlimited budget to buy everything, because you can easily spend full frame like in upward of $15,000 to $20,000 easily, and even Micro Four Third you can spend $10,000 depending on what sort of lenses you buy, right? And so it's a massive range there. So with $3,000. It's more than sufficient to get you started again with reasonable return. So like I said earlier, like if I want to do my jobs, not for my personal leisure stuff, but if I want to do my jobs for full frame, I could easily use an ZF and the Tamron 35 to 150 f2 to 2.8. That will cover most of the stuff that I need to do, so I can start working straight away with that system. And likewise for Micro Four Third, I already said it, the OM5 Mark II with a few prime lenses, the 17 and the 25 1.8 Mark II, because both weather seal. And I would have the which one did I choose now? I can't remember now. The 40 to 150, 40 to 150 f2.8 Pro.
Yeah,
and I've got the last remaining £200 budget for a second-hand Laowa ultra wide, so it covers literally everything that I need to cover for all kinds of scenarios.
So I'm going to point out as well that while a lot of us feel a bit fed up that there have not been major continual technical advances with OM cameras, the upside is that you can buy a used one.
Yeah,
that's still very capable by current standards. So if in my theoretical world, if I did get an EM1 Mark III, that wouldn't be so very far behind for my purposes.
No.
The OM1, and it's considerable saving. But I suppose I'd characterize it like this, and I think this is perhaps what broadly photographers, the whole market might feel, that with Micro Four Thirds, you can have the lenses, but maybe you wouldn't have chosen the cameras because you wanted a larger sensor. If you choose full frame, you can have the cameras, but then the lenses become problematic because of size and cost, and sometimes quality as well. So you can't have your cake and eat it. You can have the lenses, you can have the camera, can't necessarily have both.
And to be quite honest, and now I have used so many different cameras and lenses, and now they all do the same thing, which is making images. And and ultimately, you're just going to find something that is, that you feel most comfortable with. And whether, some people may have some disabilities when, because I spoke to a lot of different photographers. Some people say, oh, I prefer something that is smaller, lighter, and have more, very strong stabilization. So that still allow me to go and shoot, because they just simply can't use something with either no IBIS or very weak IBIS, because as much as they enjoy photography, but they can't shoot with it because it's just not feasible. And likewise, some people may say, I don't have unlimited budget. I have very limited budget. So what can I do with my money if I still want to get into photography, enjoy taking camera out and about and do certain things. So there are a lot of different circumstances. Not everyone would have the same requirements and things like that. Obviously, pros are very different. It's a business, so you have another set of considerations altogether. It's really interesting to get these conversations going, and because it's also quite for me at least, quite educational to see everybody's requirements and set and mindset. And if you got $3,000 now, what sort of thing would you get nowadays? Especially in today's environment, right? Because everything is ultra expensive. It's getting more expensive, not less expensive. Everything's got more expensive year on year because every year we've got inflation. Every new gear come out, it's always got like a 10 or 20% markup on the older model, and so everything that we're buying now, the next generation is always going to be more expensive to start with the exception of the OM5 Mark II, which is actually cheaper than the OM5. That's why I opt for the OM5 Mark II because it's actually cheaper than OM5.
I think dilemma I have about different systems as well. I imagine there's a lot of people who have a similar dilemma.
Yeah.
You're going to somewhere you might not go to again, or for a very long time, somewhere quite special. Maybe you're going to Venice or Las Vegas or Newfoundland or wherever you're going. So you think, I want to take the best gear. But that's often very big, and you don't want anything to happen to it. And the other, like
it is true. It is true.
I
agree. I agree.
But so this is the appeal of something like the OM5 II, which isn't very expensive, and is quite light, and you just put on a lens like the 12 to 45 f4, and that's it. So it's somewhat limited, but the quality is good. It's weatherproof, and it'll do anything you ask of it. So you might get back and think, if only I'd shot this on an EOS R5 II. But you wouldn't have taken an EOS R5 II, and you wouldn't want to carry it around, and you couldn't afford the lenses. So you have to be reasonable and practical and choose the thing that does the job best, I think. So I think for travel, especially if you have a family, and you don't want them to feel like you've just gone off on your own and left them for a week. You need something simple, light, and portable and unobtrusive that's not going to take an age to figure out and set up and use, that you can just take out, rattle off some shots, put it back and carry on.
Absolutely. Even
if they're only 20 megapixels, not 45,
it doesn't really make any sort of material differences at the end of the day. And because I would say most people, 95% of people who photograph these days are displaying the images online through digital medium.
Yeah.
And really the high resolution really doesn't work to any sort of advantage when it's displaying only to that sort of limited canvas. And I think unless you're doing a lot of cropping or printing large, and I think the resolution really doesn't come into it. Of course, I'm not trying to discourage people buying high resolution cameras here, and it's more to do with whether you do need it or not. And I always say that my sweet spot is always going to be between 20 to 26. This is kind of my sweet spot, and I don't need any more, and I don't want any less. And although I can live with less, but it's not a problem. But I don't need any more because to me, it's just going to be a burden for.
So it's like empty resolution. It's satisfying to keep zooming in and seeing more and more detail, but it has no practical benefit for what you need the camera for. Yeah. So we all want more resolution, but we have to be practical.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be aware of your own psychology a bit as well. If you go on holiday, go on a trip and you're walking around, and you've got a great lump of a camera in your bag, you're going to think, do you know what? Forget it. But if you've got a small light camera, out it comes, you get the picture. It's stupid stuff like that.
I've seen. I'm just talking about my personal experience. Every time I travel, I use my MFT gear because it's light and small and weather sealed. And I was walking Malaga earlier this year, and it was really one hot sunny day. We're walking up the mountain, and I was still relatively sweaty because you're walking in the heat, and I saw a couple of young men carrying this massive gear in the backpack and everything. They were hanging around the net like a Z9 or something. It's like massive, and with a 24-70 f2.8. So that gear, that kit on itself is about what, 2 kilo, 2.5 kilo. I could see them sweating and really huffing and puffing because, like, really, I can see they're struggling, with that weight. I don't know what else they carry in the backpack. I'm pretty sure they got 70 to 200, 2.8, or some of the heavy primes as well. And so the difference can be significant. And do you really need it to start with? And secondly, are you enjoying your journey? And you're not really, because you're really physically exhausted. And to me, I'd rather still have the energy by the time I reach the top and still taking some photos, rather than have to sit down and rest for about 20 minutes before you do anything else.
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of people feel, they're quite young and fit and strong, and they can carry a lot of stuff, and it's not a problem. But I think the more you've got, the more it gets in the way, because whatever you want is going to be underneath something else. And if you've got a lot of stuff, it's going to have to go in a backpack, not a shoulder bag. And if it's in a backpack, you have to take the backpack off to get your gear out. And that's when you think, do you know what, I'm not going to bother. And you go up all the way up the mountain, all the way back down again. You don't take any photos because you think, to hell with it.
Well, I've been there.
There's a lot of psychology involved in this stuff. And I think it's important to have something light and simple and quick, and also not too valuable, ideally, because if
I mean, unless you buy insurance,
Did you go on the trip that Panasonic did in Barcelona for the launch of the Lumix S1? I've got a feeling you might have been there. I can't remember.
No, not the Lumix. No.
Well, we went on a little street walk with Panasonic afterwards, and all these guys hanging around just outside the group. I thought, this is a bit dodgy, but nothing happened. And we got back, and it turns out they were security hired by Panasonic to protect this group of photographers carrying around these big, expensive cameras. So it is something that's on my mind a little bit when I do go traveling, that I don't have the camera out if I can avoid it. If I do... you kind of you're always seeing who's around, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a high theft rate on Leica cameras now, especially they're quite easily recognizable.
I'll bet.
On the street, that red dot doesn't really help you at all. And even though it can be a status symbol thing, but at the same time, you are a magnet for thieves. Almost certainly. You gotta be very, very careful where you walk, and also where when you want to carry it out in public, because it can be a little bit dangerous, or if you're not careful. The best thing to do if you do want to use the Leica is just to cover a red dot. Use the tape, cover it up.
It's also quite difficult being discreet with a big camera.
Yeah.
This is why I like the EP7, which is very basic.
Yeah.
But there's not even an EVF. So you never put in the camera to your eye. Just take it out, flip that screen, touch shutter, shot taken, back it goes. You don't have to worry about it. But if I've got something like my Sony A7 II and a bigger lens, it's obvious you're a photographer. It's obvious you're taking pictures.
Yeah.
And even if you're not in an area where you feel any kind of risk, it's going to get you thrown out of a public building or a museum or something else where they don't like photographers getting in the way. So I prefer a smaller camera for traveling in that aspect. And it's not even a money thing. It's a practicality thing.
Especially in today's world, especially go to any developed country in big cities. For instance, I took MFT gear to New York a few years ago, and MFT not particularly big, but I was stopped by security multiple times to go to different venues.
Really?
Yeah, because I was holding the 40-150, which is not actually that huge, to be honest, and it's quite still, but to them it's still big enough to ask me to stop. And now I learn from experience, and so every time I travel now to big cities, I just use small primes. That's why, I thought about all these like 1.8 prime lenses are brilliant because they're so small and it doesn't impose threats to people. Like almost like hanging around, people say, "Hey, he's just a tourist." That's the matter. They pose no harm to anyone.
that's my trip for travel photographers. Look like a tourist. Don't look like a photographer.
Yeah,
I see Anthony, he's rejected my £3,000 insurance settlement, and he's saying if he won the lotto match in Canada, I would buy a Hasselblad X2D100C. So would I. So the Fujifilm GFX cameras are more practical and more affordable.
Yeah.
But those Hasselblads are just things of beauty.
Yeah.
They're just wonderful to use and to look at.
Absolutely. Well, John Young came with his travel setup is the Z7 and the 24-200. So one lens setup, yes.
It's interesting because what did I do with my Sony? It's the 24-200, which it's the Tamron, but it might even be the same lens. And if it is the same lens, I can say that it's by far the best super zoom I've ever used or tested.
It's a variable aperture or fixed aperture?
It is. It's 2.8 to 5.6.
Right.
But this is the only long zoom lens I've tested which is sharp at full zoom. So that's quite something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all the others probably not. But it might be the same lens. But that's quite a handy lens. And I wasn't actually I've just got to check John's comment now. No, he's got the 24-200. That's different, isn't it? Because mine 28-200.
But that's the same coverage as the 12-100 f4 Pro and the Olympus.
Probably about the same size as well. but it's considerably cheaper. It's I got it in a sale. It's about 530 quid.
Okay.
So it's quite cheap. So that was to cheer me up because I couldn't really justify the 12-100 at twice the price. Yeah. But those lenses are useful. But I have to say, having got it, I find it a bit borderline for travel.
Yeah.
Because it's heavy and rather obvious. Yeah. If you're in a city, I think you want something a bit more discreet. If I was out in the countryside, in the wilds or up a mountain or whatever,
that doesn't matter. Yeah.
The bigger lens is all right. But I think in a town or a city, I just feel uncomfortable with big cameras.
Yeah. And Mark actually just said the same thing, basically. And I had a Nikon setup with a few lenses, but on my trip to Korea and Japan, I only took the OM3 and the Prime.
Brave.
And the Prime.
Prime. Brave. Very brave.
Yeah. Well, having said that, when I was in Japan earlier this year, shooting with the OM3, even though I had 3 lenses with me in the bag, but most of the time I just reached out to 17. So I didn't even change the lens. So a lot of the shot I just shot with the 17. One thing about photography is, at least my type of photography is, I tend to fix my head into one focal or the angle of view. So I fix my head into one space, and I just work within that space. So so not only that, to me, is create less complication when it comes to creating images, because when you have choices and you suddenly confuse yourself, you stood at that spot. It's like, oh, should I use a 24? Should I use a 50? Should I use a 135? Should I punch in a little bit more? Should I go ultra wide? Yeah. When you have choices, that's the confusion, and you miss the moment when you start thinking about choices. Yeah.
You stole my line there, Jimmy. That's exactly what I was going to say. But it's true. It's true. You've got enough to think about as a photographer. You think, oh, I want choice. You don't. You want simplicity above anything else. Even the difference between using a prime and a zoom. I mean, a prime lens limits you, but it takes longer, I think, to get the shot with the zoom, because you're thinking, oh, so I get closer, but I'll change the perspective. Try cross the road and try that. It ends up taking you longer because you have to cycle through the choices instead of not having a choice.
And that's the funny thing about zoom lenses in general. I think they were first invented for convenience, but convenience for those who want to select certain focal range or angle of view to start with. Not really deliberately trying to give people unlimited sort of imagination of creativity within that single moment. Because at that moment, you only have one choice. That split second, you only have one choice. You choose your focal length, you execute, and that's the only choice you have. You can't zoom in and out. The people in front of you is not going to stop for you, or the subject is not going to stop for you. You just have to make that shot.
That's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes a shot depends solely on timing.
Yep. And
if you're distracting yourself with other choices, like, do I go further away and zoom in? The moment's gone. You with street photography particularly, you have to see and take the shot in an instant.
Yeah.
You can't be thinking about all the other stuff you might want to do.
Yeah, because every time when I use a zoom lens, I choose a focal length to shoot, and then it just saving me time from swapping lenses, for instance. In the so if I want to, like, I do most of the let's say I do most of the photo session in 50mm equivalents or 25, and I will stick with 25 on the zoom lens. I don't change it. And if you do occasionally need the wider coverage, instead of changing a wide lens, I just zoom it out again. So that's how I use zoom lenses. I don't go in and out trying to figure out what I use.
Oh, interesting.
I just stick with just one. That's how I use my lenses. I use it almost like a prime lens, or multiple prime lenses stuck together.
A man of considerable self-discipline.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done. It is. I think this is how zoom lens is supposed to be used. That's my opinion, anyway.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
And Walter Tan, come back now. The most stealth camera is the Panasonic GM1 and GM5 with the 12 to 32. Ooh, I have one right here. Although not the Lumix 12 to 32 though.
Yeah, that stealth word it bothers me. This is why I'm no good at street photography, because I don't like stealthy photographs. Having said that, I do it all the time. But I think what I do, I do probably what Walter is getting at. What I do is I don't follow somebody around to get their picture.
Yep.
I find a place where I think there's going to be a good picture and wait for somebody to walk into it and then do the shot that way. You've got all the cameras, Jimmy. No wonder.
I have a camera museum here.
No wonder they're out of stock everywhere. You've got them all.
Well, interesting. So just for those who are just joining us, we've got more people now, and what we are doing now is just to remind you, we would like to hear from you. If you have to reset your photography gear this year in 2025 by losing everything, you have to start with a limited budget of £3,000, dollars or euro. What would you get? And why, and let us know. We got some contribution earlier, and they gave us a list of things that they would buy. New or used doesn't really matter, but it's something that would potentially satisfy your photography needs. So it would also be interesting to see whether you would change from your original decision. That would be quite interesting. So let's say if you already have a Micro Four Third, would you go for full frame now, or vice versa?
So Antonio is saying he's currently got Micro Four Thirds, but he would go for Fujifilm with those two Sigma lenses, the 10 to 18, and the 18 to 50. That is a very decent combination. Oh, and a 56 prime.
That's the 1.2, I think.
Yeah, and a problem for telezooms. It is a problem, that's for sure. That's my only concern with the Fujifilm setup, that everything is fine until you get to around 15mm or so, but the telephoto zooms, they become a different problem because they're not small, they're not cheap. I'm not entirely convinced they're that brilliant. So I think you're all right with the shorter focal length. I'm not sure I'd go for Fujifilm for longer range wildlife sports and action, because I think then you're going to have to find a bit more money.
Yeah, I mean, I think to just to say out loud, the Micro Four Third platform, it is pretty good for wildlife because of the form factor. The system size is significantly smaller, but more crucially, they are significantly cheaper.
And you can kind of afford those bigger lenses.
Yeah.
And even the Olympus Super Telephotos, they're certainly not cheap. You can't get them within our fictional budget, but they're a lot cheaper than any of the larger formats.
Yes.
So if you're really into your birding, it's the cheapest way to get proper results. I think.
Absolutely. And to be quite frank as well, and this stabilization, the Micro Four Third also plays a big part of this as well, because they are really, really good by comparison. You can still hand holding a lot of stuff while in a full frame terms, it's going to be more challenging. You probably have to use a monopod, a beanbag, or something to stabilize while you're doing wildlife, just because they are much bigger, much heavier, and the stabilization doesn't always be the best, compared to smaller format like the APS-C or even Micro Four Thirds.
I find it less robust in larger sensor sizes.
Yeah.
So that if there's a moderate amount of camera shaking movement, they're fine.
Yeah.
But if you're shaking with cold, or because you've just climbed halfway up a mountain, they can't deal with that in the same way that MFT stabilization can. But it is difficult, because if you are chasing quality, then a larger format is kind of the way to go, and you can see the difference. But it is largely going to be for your own satisfaction. It is increasingly hard to find any professional need for high resolution, high detail images. It's just for personal satisfaction now, I think. Or if you're an artist and you exhibit, but there aren't, that's a fairly small niche, I think.
Yeah.
Or if you're in advertising or commercial photography.
Absolutely. Then you have to print big and do things like that.
Yeah.
And Mark would just say go straight to the EM1 Mark II and a couple of primes. You know what?
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is really good. And you got a lot of money left for your $3,000 and still got a nice trip. That's good. So by the way, we didn't limit you for the $3,000 for what you want to do, right? If you're happy with whatever system you have, yes.
you can spend a quarter of it on your camera gear and the rest on a Gitso tripod, can't you? Because I'll soak it up pretty fast.
or gold-plated memory card.
Yes, yeah. Or spend $1,500 on MFT gear and get a deluxe 8 for travel.
Hey, yes. Oh, no. That red dot is dangerous.
Yeah, that's true. That is quite true. That's quite true.
That red dot would get you mugged, that's for sure. And, okay, Antonio, Lumix 1. Oh, Lumix, there we go. Great wish list, 35 to 100 2.8 and a 200. Ooh, 200 2.8. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and
a nice lens.
Which Lumix body?
Yeah.
Tell us. I'm going to buy used G9. Sorry, I'm just going to do it.
Yep, it's great body. It's a great body. I think it's got all the nice controls. Got the LCD top plate. I love that camera in terms of design. It just fits so well in the hand. Much probably the best. Ergonomically the best Lumix camera ever. To be honest.
Shame it's not going to be so good for subject tracking. So it's not so good. If Antonio's into wildlife, it's not going to be so good at that. But because I don't really shoot wildlife and sports and action very much, so if I was just going to go Lumix only, my list would be, I think I'd buy used G9.
Yep.
And there's the 12 to 35 2.8.
Yep.
It's a very nice, simple, straightforward, decent lens.
Yep.
The 35 to 100 as well. I might run into a bit of trouble with the wide angle ultra wide zoom, because the 7 to 14 is more of a consumer lens, but the Panasonic 8 to 14?
8 to 14, I think it was 8 to 14. Yeah.
That's quite big and pricey.
Yes.
So I think that's the only area where I think Micro Four Thirds has a bit of a weakness.
Yeah.
Small ultra wide zooms, because there just aren't any really.
Yeah.
But you can't have everything.
No, you can't have everything. But
the alternative is you buy a Laowa 7.5mm f2 for about £500 or dollars, and just remember to focus. But generally, when you need an ultra wide lens, you don't need a zoom range. You just need a very wide lens, and the prime is fine. That's what I've found myself, anyway.
Absolutely, because ultra wide shooting is very specific, and then you will know when you want an ultra wide
Yeah.
at that, at that moment in time. Most of the time, the standard zoom range just usually covers everything anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
But just to go back to the 200 2.8 Lumix lens, I love that lens a lot. It's really nice, very chunky, very big and heavy, but it's got the build quality of a tank, and but it's really, really sharp, that lens. I loved it.
It's kind of a shame that the world seems to have forgotten about Panasonic's longer lenses, as it has to an extent the OM super telephotos.
I think it's down to the marketing, right? Because OM System has been pushing a lot of
Yeah.
wildlife, so they keep pushing the zoom lenses and everything, while Lumix is not doing any of that at all. It's still more generic, more general photography in general. So they're not really pushing or talking about wildlife at all. So like a lot of these long prime lenses or long zoom lenses are completely forgotten because of that.
Do you think as soon as they started with full frame Lumix S, they couldn't be bothered pushing Lumix G anymore?
I got the feeling it was, because you can see that, apart from the last couple of camera releases, you don't really see them talk about Micro Four Thirds at all. And I haven't seen anything.
The frustrating thing is that very often the the Lumix G cameras were better at some of these jobs than the Lumix S ones. Like if you, I don't want to keep going on about shooting 4K 60, but that you take that for granted with the Lumix G cameras. But with Lumix S, I can't think of one that does without a crop. It's like the video. I mean, you've got lots of nice video features. But that particular aspect of it has gone backwards, not forward.
No, well, it's cost, right? Because I think Lumix is coming to a very difficult crossroad at the moment. They want to build a presence in the full frame world, but it's competing with a lot of the established players, and where they have a much bigger lineup to shoot all kinds of budgets and needs, while Lumix is starting from ground up, and while they can't compete in the top end, they want to compete in the bottom end. So the bottom end, obviously, they can't really, first the price will restrict them in terms of research and development and what sort of feature they want to put in it. And I think they're facing that difficulties there. And not suggesting anything, but they've always been really good with the Micro Four Thirds cameras. And the GH series is just a video beast. The thing about the feature in those cameras are better than a lot of the cine cameras out there in terms of features. I'm not suggesting quality, but in terms of features, you got open gate shooting, you got ProRes RAW internal shooting. You can connect external SSD to for all kinds of stuff. It's a proper cine camera if you think about it, and people may not get it, but I think it's still a worthy powerhouse for any sort of small production houses for if you want to make something on a budget end. I think it's really good, and it's got a ton of choices, cine lenses to go with it as well now.
And it's not ridiculously expensive.
No,
and,
not at all.
And if you are working on a production, it's a perfectly good camera for you getting a production stills as well, for the publicity.
Absolutely. I mean, I use it for my still project sometimes because it's got 25 megapixels, so it's good. It's actually really good. And now with the G9 Mark II and the GX7, it's got very capable AF now. So I think Lumix in some way needs to perhaps have a little bit more effort. just go back to a little bit of the Micro Four Thirds instead of just pushing on the full frame side.
I think it's a brand perhaps a little bit like Sony, which is competing on technical specifications, market research, and just generic camera development. It's not driven by any kind of visionary image of what cameras could be. It's not like Fujifilm, which has this kind of driving force behind the camera design, or OM System, where there are a couple of key individuals who have this vision about what cameras should be, or even Sigma. Sigma's never going to sell a lot of cameras, but they know what they think a camera should be like. And you could say the same for Leica, whereas Sony and Panasonic, I think, are just playing the numbers
Yep.
and trying to just get a good market share for an appropriate investment.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like Lumix, but I mean, I respect the company because it's brought out a lot of great stuff over the years. But at the same time, the last few years, I felt that they haven't got a focus on anything, if I may say that. It's almost like it's all over the place. They got Micro Four Third line, the G line, and they got the S line, the full frame line.
Yeah.
But they're not. I don't know. I don't seem to see the focus on either. And even though I know they're pushing full frame at the moment and for the past couple of years now, but you don't really see that enthusiasm, the passion, like what they did when they first started the G line, the Micro Four Third line. They certainly had a lot more effort pushing the cameras and lenses out in the beginning, and everything sounded kind of like tailed off a little bit.
It's almost like gone a bit sensible. But I don't know if you remember using the original Lumix S1 and S1R.
Yeah.
They were big cameras, but they were proper, solid, enjoyable cameras to use because they had the status panel on the top as well.
Yeah.
They were pretty hefty cameras. Whereas the Mark II versions, they're slimmed down, they haven't got the top plate LCD, they're more sensible, but they somehow feel less than the original cameras were.
Yeah.
In a curious kind of way.
Which is kind of weird because you always think that the successor of the camera is supposed to offer you more, not less.
But you know how somebody designs a brilliant new retro car like the original VW Beetle design was much more characterful and retro than what it's evolved into.
Yeah.
It started out
same as Mini, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So maybe that's happening with cameras. But I do have one tip. If anyone wants a cheap MFT starter camera for themselves, for travel, for a relative or whatever, the G97 with the cheaper 12 to 16 millimeter zoom, about £800. Very, very, very good camera for that money.
Yeah.
Silly value. Bit like the EP7 is at the moment. So
yes,
that would be my tip.
I think that's probably the best entry level Micro Four Third cameras now, right? If we consider
those two are brilliant. The EP7 is brilliant as a kind of hipster retro travel camera. The G97 is remarkable for what it does for that much money.
Yeah. So you're calling yourself a hipster, Rod? Because you have the EP7.
Well, I thought being hipster was a good thing until my kids who are now grown up and they don't have any respect for me anymore. Until they told me that no, hipster's just somebody cantankerous contrary who doesn't do what other people do just because that's what they're like.
So that means we're all hipsters.
I thought I was being fashionable. Turns out I'm just being contrary.
So that means that most Micro Four Third users are hipsters because we are the contrary,
I don't think
right?
so. Yeah. Because you get the camera for what it does.
Yes. We are different. We think different.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Some dude say that after years of looking for small Micro Four Third cameras, I just learned that the EP7 can be got on eBay for $625 new.
Yeah. That's right.
I think small. Yep.
I think Wex in the UK has them at 600.
Yeah.
I'll check. Don't get the white one though. I don't know why, it just doesn't appeal to me.
But I mean, I think that the EP7 is certainly quite good looking camera.
Yep.
And to be honest, if you think this is a good camera for you, you should buy it before any sort of update to it because you will lose the Olympus name. This is probably one of the last Olympus branded camera you can still buy.
599.
599
with the 14 to 42 zoom.
Right.
Madness.
Oh, that is madness. Well, some dude actually come back to what we talk about Lumix. I think Lumix has an version of dominating the Micro Four Third S9. Yes, a Micro Four Third S9 would dominate. The S9 is great.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been talking about it. Lumix should have made the S9 as the GM1 or GM5 successor, being a small, compact, no thrill Micro Four Third camera.
Well, I think the S9 is good and it's cheap as well now, but it's fine. But there are only a couple of lenses you can put on it that don't completely overbalance it. You know, there's is it 14 to 28?
The pancake lens.
There's a pancake prime. That doesn't
the pancake
focus.
prime, yes.
And there's one more that escapes me at the moment, but there just aren't really any full frame lenses that don't overbalance the S9 body. So it would be a great camera with some more pancake primes, I think.
Well, when you think about like tiny cameras like those or flat cameras like that tends to be the case anyway. I mean, you can't really use any big lenses on it. There has to be small primes, pancake lenses preferably, you know, or if you want to zoom, you have to go for the kit zooms because they're smaller and lighter compared to the 2.8 constant aperture or anything bigger and faster than that. I think you just can't avoid it, you know.
No. And I see Chuck L once says he doesn't know why the EP7 isn't sold in the States. I don't know either. It can't be a licensing thing because you can buy the Olympus EM10, I think. But I've never understood why the EP7 wasn't sold in the States. It's crazy. It's decent camera.
I think they have a lot of numbers when they decide which region has what, because I remember the the EPL10. Don't know if anyone still remember that.
Yeah.
So the EPL10 was only sold in Japan and some parts in Europe. And not everywhere. So it's strange that and then the 10S, strangely, yes, they did have a 10S, which is I don't know what the difference is, the 10S and the 10, but the 10S is exclusive in Japan only. So they don't even sell it at all outside of Japan.
Now, if you get irritated by tiny upgrades, never compare the EPL10 with the EPL9, because the biggest upgrade was a number changing. They had to put a different sticker on or something. It's tiny. Tiny.
Yeah.
So shame the EP7 deserves better. Hey ho. Just buy a box of them and wait till everybody wants one and sell them for a profit.
Oh my, I'm late again. Someone, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I had 3 people ask if the OM5 Mark II was a vintage camera last weekend. Figure that out.
I would say yes, it is. Yes, it is. They're very hard to get, so please don't touch it.
Yep. Did you get the sand color? I hope you get the sand color. Mine just arrived.
Talking about the OM5 too. Yeah.
Mine just arrived. I got my OM5 Mark II finally.
Yeah, I just tell people you had to sell your Leica gear so you could afford it.
Yes. It's very rare, very rare. And Anthony here, I think nice. Sony make a decision on how cheap camera they can make the camera bodies when manufacturing their cameras to save on cost. For them to make more economic camera would cost them a lot more to manufacture.
I think more ergonomic camera, I think it would. It's the only explanation I can think of.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm not sure about the sound. I don't know. Denim. I'd buy the denim one if they made denim.
The EP, well, the EP10, the EPL10.
Yeah, no, if they did that denim finish in the EM5 Mark II.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Yeah. And the great Vanzini's saying that, yes, the sandy color. Oh, you got the sandy color.
So they're all so when I go to buy one and the sand is sold out, it's because you lot have bought them. That's not fair.
Well, apparently they are sold out.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So I don't know how many they made, and but apparently yes, the sandy colors are sold out now, and as we speak, there may be some cancel order somewhere, but yeah, for those who order, you are pretty lucky to get hold of one. That's according to my sources. I don't know exactly the number, how many, because they said limited edition. Sometimes they never really tell you how many is limited, and they don't put numbers on the cameras either, so it's quite hard to tell. But anyway, I bought it simply because it looks refreshing. It looks different than the traditional black and silver or whatever, it just kind of looked different. I thought, it would be cool to have a slightly different color camera sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I'd still go for black and silver myself, but I'm very conservative.
Oh, even Rob Mills got it too in sand. So there you go. It's another sandy color.
I know, that's what I mean. You see, everybody's bought the sand.
Yeah. So no one buys the black or silver. So that's gonna be overstocked somewhere now.
Mate, I'll hang on, see if it gets cheaper. Can't get a lot cheaper, to be honest.
Yeah. So Anthony said, I agree with you that Sony should have made their top professional camera with an integrated grip. I think that's from our last conversation, right? And,
it was, yeah.
To be built super weatherproof and used intended for.
Yeah, but then they'd have to spend some money, wouldn't they? Oops, sorry.
Well, that's why I really love the EM1X, and the Micro Four Third camera. I know it's a big camera, but you can't get a better built or more waterproof cameras than the EM1X. It is like a top end camera.
And you've got the integrated vertical grip. So if you're spending all day in London with your new very expensive, it's for a different camera, isn't it? But let's imagine an expensive lens or heavy lens. Say you're doing one of your shoots with your 40 to 150 at 2.8.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of vertical shots. You're going to be glad of that. The vertical controls ultra a few minutes. So
absolutely. Yeah. I think that like if I want another camera from OM system, it will have to be the successor to the EM1X. But that's only personal because it is a very good hand camera to hold. It's big enough for my whole hand to grip hold of it really easily and nicely.
Well, that's the thing.
And I know people say that camera, make it smaller and lighter. Yes, it is cool to have a smaller, lighter camera, but let's say if you're a professional, you really want something that ergonomically is good when you're using big and heavier lenses. For travel, I use a smaller and lighter camera, but for my pro jobs, bigger and better grip cameras are usually better for me.
I think a lot of people forget that with a camera you have to put a lens on as well. You can't just compare the bodies.
All right. And Vermis actually say, "Oh, hold on. What about making an OM1 Mark III in sandy beige color?"
Well, that's an interesting proposition. I wonder when that would be. Who
would buy one? Who would buy a sandy beige OM1 Mark III or even the OM3? Because the OM3 at the moment only has silver. Imagine you get more color options like a black. And a sandy color, because I know a lot of people has been asking for black OM3. Actually, I personally would like to see a black OM3. I think it would look quite sleek, in black. I know it doesn't have that retro vibe, like
what about
all Fujifilm cameras has at the moment.
What about Fujifilm style gunmetal grey?
They had a gunmetal grey for the X half, right? And then
but I mean for the OM3.
Oh, for the OM3. Or maybe like a titanium color again. They had old titanium color OM3 before.
Oh, there we go.
So that would be quite interesting to have.
Yeah.
I hope they will make something special like this again, because I for some reason we don't see a lot of special limited edition for the past few years when it comes to cameras. We used to have that, right? We used to have we have a limited run of whatever with special colors, and we don't see that anymore. Apart from the OM5 Mark II, of course, but we don't see it from Canon, Nikon, Sony. We don't see any of that. Well, Sony never really did any sort of special thing anyway. But Nikon used to do something.
They're not going to pay for stickers and trim.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna stop bashing Sony. It's not fair. Sorry.
I have to say, there are cameras who don't do special edition, but there are also companies who do too many special edition. This Leica, it literally got special edition every 2 months.
They're for collectors, aren't they? They're for collectors.
How many special edition, limited edition do you want? In a camera, it's the same camera, but just throw a different shell, different color, different engraving on it. There you go. That's another limited edition. Would charge you 2 times more because it's only a limited one for 500.
Yeah, and the loan retain its value if you never use it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't use it because you devaluate it. You have to keep it in the box, all sealed up. In case one day you want to resell it, and you got a brand new camera with box and instruction.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy this world. But yeah, that would be cool. I think we be good to see more special edition. That would be awesome. And Mark will say that I should bring out an all black OM3. There you go, another all black. Yes.
I'll be back in just a moment. My little dog is summoning me by charging at the kitchen door. Hang on a second.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So let's see what else we have here, Anthony. If they do introduce a new X model, they should make it slightly smaller and lighter than the EM1X. I think so. Because there are rooms that you can make it slightly more shorter, not as tall. And like the R1, the Canon R1, they make the whole integrated body a lot shorter than the previous DSLR versions. I think they should or could do something similar with the EM1X as well. So potentially you can make it slightly smaller, yet having a full vertical grip, and that will be quite nice as well. And that's personal, because I do like the camera. In fact, I'm using that to stream, and you can see there's still a very capable AFY. It zoom in, zoom out very, very nicely. So that's how effective the EM1X in terms of AF performance. Anthony say, I hope OM system engineers are listening to us. Yes, me too.
Yes.
I think they should consider the limited edition like the OM5 to Astro. Oh, yes, the light pollution filters and dark blue. Yes, they had the EM1 Mark III Astro version in Japan. I think, did they sell it in the US? I'm not entirely sure if they sell it in the US. I know they have it in Japan, which is a special Astro camera of the EM1 Mark III, which is current. So they haven't upgraded to the OM1 Mark II body or anything like that. So they're using the EM1 Mark III body, same sensor, same processor, but just changing the filter setup to make it more sensitive to certain light spectrum for astrophotography, which is actually a very cool and niche tool. But for those who shoot a lot of astro, I think that could be a very, very useful camera for that purpose. So yeah, it would be quite cool for them to do something similar again, and using maybe a slightly upgraded body, and for various different upgrades, whether it's be body constructions, whether sealness or anything like that. That would be awesome. Okay, Anthony, don't tell me now. An OM3 monochrome.
And I would sell that in a fitted aluminium case with 3 primes and a set of monochrome filters.
Yep.
As a special collector's edition.
You know what? If they do an OM3 monochrome, I don't care how much they sell. I'll buy one. Yeah. Because you don't get many monochrome cameras to start with. Really, there aren't many. Yes, there are APS-C and micro and full frame equivalent, but the full frame monochrome cameras are extremely expensive.
Well, they
apart from the K3.
Yeah, that's APS-C, isn't it? And it's Pentax isn't everyone's taste. But yeah, otherwise it's just Leica. And I think if there was a monochrome version, this would also allay some of the fears that people have about the smaller sensor, because when you take away the color filter array, you will get better noise control because you haven't got the filters blocking the photosites, and you will get better resolution because there's no demosaicing.
Yeah.
So I think that would be quite a good black and white camera.
Absolutely, and in fact, like a 20 megapixel would behave more like a 26 or even 30 megapixel, because of what you just said.
Yeah, I think you will get more resolution and less noise.
Yeah,
and you'll.
Yeah, I remember Leica. Remember the Leica M9 monochrome, the very first Leica monochrome rangefinder.
Yeah.
And that camera, I remember the colored M9 was 18 megapixel, and the monochrome is also 18, but they said it in the website because of the lack of filters and the mosaic and everything like that. So it actually behaved and looked more like a 24, 25 megapixels. And at the time, it's a revolutionary thing. And it's interesting that they actually mentioned that at all. As well, they actually have a side-by-side comparison of the images of a converted color image into black and white compared to the actual black and white taken with the monochrome.
Well, I'm trying to remember if it's I either had the M10 monochrome or the Q2 monochrome. I think it's the M10 monochrome. I did some kind of walkabout shots at night in my local neighborhood at ISO 10,000.
Yeah.
And they were sharp as anything with very hard, tight noise pattern, completely unlike regular digital camera noise. Very interesting. But that would be good for the OM3, and then they could do finish your body in black, couldn't they?
Oh, and black test.
Yeah. So OM3 monochrome. Yeah.
Rock Mills
we
will say
designed
that I'll
it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rock Mills said already sell my house for that.
You might need to.
yeah. But yeah, that I'll definitely get it in a heartbeat. So JTC, just Alex 100 with a tilt screen, weather seal, faster motor zoom. I mean, better manual lenses like the X30 lens. Yeah, I mean
that's the only thing I've got against the LX100 and the Deluxe is that motorized zoom, because I like it. It ought to be like the zoom on the X30, which is unusual for a compact camera because it's purely mechanical. But it's difficult to go from a mechanical zoom to an electric one.
Yep.
It's like going from regular focus to it's like going from a regular zoom to a power zoom. On a mirrorless camera. They're just a bit squiffy.
And also, it's not weather seal, which is, I know there's a lot of problem with electronic zoom or motor zoom lenses. They suck lenses in, suck dust in. So over time, if you use it a lot in the field or outdoor, over time you'll see dust build up inside. You actually start seeing dust speck in the lenses, and then ultimately it may reach your sensor and something you can't service unless you take it to the manufacturers and have it rip apart and clean it for you. So that's unlikely you're going to do that. Yeah. So I guess, it's almost time. We're going to wrap up now. I guess I can't believe how long we've been chatting for.
We've run a bit, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like I said, like we can get really nerdy about money and budget and getting new system, right? We can all get excited about something.
The idea is starting again as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. So for those who just joined us and missed the earlier chat, and is that basically today's conversation is all about starting over. If you suddenly lose all your gear and is someone giving you £3,000, dollars or euro, what would you get in 2025? And would you stick with what you had before if you can get them in the same price, or you would change system altogether or change format more precisely? Would you go from full frame to micro four third, or from micro four third to full frame, or APS-C, or whatever format you want to go? Or you can get combinations and stuff, but your limit is 3,000. That's the magic number. So if you missed that conversation, remember to leave us some comment down below after the chat. We would like to see your options, your thinking, and why you want to choose those gear. Okay, so in that case, we're going to wrap up today, and thank you all for joining us again, and that was fun. So hopefully we're gonna get some more interesting stuff to talk about, but I'm actually currently quite busy, and I'm gonna go away in 2 weeks time, so I'll be missing the one session. So hopefully next week we're going to be similar time and date, so we will see you then. Also, I can see Rod's dog is very impatient now. But lucky yes. She's not chewing cables at the moment, so.
No, that's next. She's all right for now, but she's looking at the cable.
Oh dear! Oh
yes,
dear!
I know. I'm talking to. Yes, I know.
Brilliant.
Yes,
okay.
All right.
You can see her dog is very excited now. Okay, yeah, Rod is finishing now. Yes. She's got attention. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for joining us, and remember to leave some comment down below, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Okay, guys, see you then. Bye.
Bye. Bye from the dog as well. Hey. That's enough.